Hey Bookaholics, welcome back to another reading vlog. Another week, another vlog, and I am still working my way through both my Asian Heritage Month books that I have planned for this month, and of course whichever of those may apply to the Fantasy Fellowship readathon that is also happening in May. Working through what I have, I've got 3 books that are actually rolling over from last week, which is a little bit uncharacteristic for me. My OCD tends to like it when I keep things nicely contained, but plans changed a bit last week, so we are rolling some over. The first one that I am rolling over is one that I am buddy reading, and that is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. I am halfway through this one and I am buddy reading it with my friend Steve, and we are going to be working our way through the latter half of this. As long as I'm done by the end of May, I really don't mind how long this takes. It's literary fantasy. It is an Arthurian legend retelling in which we are following not long after the demise of King Arthur, and we are following a couple named Axel and Beatrice who are setting out in search of their son. They are traversing this landscape that converges the fantastically mythical with the real world. So we do have the ongoing conflict between the Britons, or the Roman colonizers, and the Saxons, who were the kind of more native people from the British Isles at the time. We are also following the Arthurian legend landscape where we have ogres and dragons, etc. I am really enjoying this. It's very, very literary. It's somewhere between fantasy and literary. It's a mush of genres, which I think is really cool. I am looking forward to continuing on. I am really immersed in it, and it's a really good one to be buddy reading because I feel like there's a lot that you can theorize and you can discuss and see what it all means. I suppose it's one that is going to be a really good time with the conversation, so I am excited to continue. Another one that I am rolling over is my digital book for the week, and that is The Book Eaters by Sunya Dean. The Book Eaters is a fantasy horror in which we are following a woman and her son. This is told in 2 timelines. The first timeline, the present day timeline, is we are following a woman who is struggling to feed her son. They are book eaters, which basically means that they're kind of like vampires but with books, where they literally consume the books for nourishment. However, her son has a rarer affliction, which is that he is actually a mind eater, which means that he literally needs to eat people's minds. Now, she has to decide how she needs to go about this. She has 3 options. 1, she hands people over to her son and he eats their minds, which basically leaves them in a vegetative state. 2, she lets him starve. Or 3, she hands him over to her people who will then have him destroyed. None of those options seem very good to her, but she has been feeding him. So therefore she keeps having to move because they keep having to, well, hide all of these vegetative people that she keeps dumping on homeless shelters' doorsteps. Enter her now needing to see if there is a different way she can sustain her son, and it turns out one of the other families of people like her potentially have something that could still provide nourishment to her son without her having to essentially all but murder people. The other timeline that we have is when she is young and she is growing up on this country manor estate, and with all of her family, and discussions around fertility within their people and keeping their people alive, because there always are less women born than men. And it is very fascinating. I am having a fantastic time with both timelines. I love mothers in fiction. I love reading about mothers. So that is just one that I am really loving for that purpose. So I am just having a fantastic time with this story and I can't wait to continue. The other one, the final one that I'm rolling over, is the audiobook that I have been listening to. This one I'm planning on listening to for the whole month. It might even roll into next month. I don't really mind. And that is The Water Outlaws by S.L. Huang. And this is one that is epic historical fantasy. It's based on a Chinese historical event, and I believe it is gender flipped. And we are following this woman who is, at the start of the story, she is very well respected within the army, despite the fact that she's a woman. So much so that men are actually allowing their wives to be taught self-defense from her. She's actually teaching them combat, but she's telling the husbands that it's self-defense, so that these women do have some defensive abilities during this time of war. Therefore, when she is accused accused of treason. She has to go on the run and ends up potentially needing to join up with some bandits, and it makes her question her empire, essentially, and everything that she used to hold dear. I'm really liking the audiobook for this one. It's a really just gentle listen. It's really nice to listen to. I'm really loving our protagonist. She's very stoic and very much how I would want a strong woman to be depicted. A lot of the time when you see a strong woman, she's kind of trying to girl boss her way through everything. She's a bit not like other girls, and she's a bit of a bull in the china shop. And I appreciate that, and I'm here for that. But we don't see women like this depicted very often, where she's very stoic, very steadfast, calm, and centered. It's kind of, to me, the difference between like a strong man being like, I in my previous vlog I said the difference between like Aragorn, where he's like impetuous and will go at anything and can fight and all of that, versus like Aragorn, who is just calmly and gently and firmly strong. And she's more like Aragorn, and I'm really here for that. And I really like showing strength in this calm and more reserved way, where it's not all bravado, which I am really enjoying. So having a really good time with that one as well. The two new books that I am adding onto the TBR, which is crazy because all of these books, well, if not all, most of these books, but probably all of these books are going to be running in tandem, which literally means I am going to have 5 books on the go. I have never had 5 books on the go in my life, but here we are. So the next one that I have is another standalone, which is The Red Scholar's Wake by Aliette de Bodard, and this one is a sci-fi space opera, which I believe is sapphic, and in it we are following Zich. See, I'm gonna have to look up how to, if I'm hoping there's a pronunciation guide, but if not, I'm gonna have to look up how to pronounce some of these names. And she is a bot maker, and she is a data analyst, a mother, and a scavenger. And she is on a ship, and then it gets taken over by a pirate fleet. However, the pirate leader, who is Rosefish, wants Sich's help. And basically, I think it's a overthrow, either corrupt organization or overthrow the current regime. I think it's like a revolution, take something down kind of story. I'm really excited for it. I'm really wanting to get into more sci-fi, and I'm really wanting especially to get into more space operas. A lot of the sci-fi I own are not space operas, so I'm really excited to be giving this one a go, and I am hoping that I love it. I have read something by this author before and didn't absolutely love it, but it was a short fiction, which is not normally my jam, so hopefully this one hits home a bit harder. And the final one that I have is the Mammoth one. I need to divide this up so that I can actually get through it all in one week, but I am reading The Veiled Throne by Ken Liu, which is the 3rd book in the Dandelion Dynasty. So we are over the halfway point through the Dandelion Dynasty at this point, and I am really excited to be continuing. I really enjoyed book 2. Book 1 was good. I had a good time with it, but book 2 really blew it out the water, and I am really now excited and invested and really wanting to continue on with the series. So that's where we're at. I'm going to be hopefully starting this as soon as I finish this clip, because I'm really excited to get into it. This one I will probably just use to kind of pace myself. This one, because I'm buddy reading it with Steve, I'm letting Steve set the pace because he is busier than I am, so I'm letting him set the pace with this one. My ebook, as usual, is just the one that I kind of work my way through whenever I am out. If I'm downstairs and I don't have a book on me and I can't, basically ebooks are there for me to be lazy, because I'll read it on my phone or I'll have my Kindle on me because it fits in some of my pockets. So these are the ones that I'm going to have to like pace out a bit better. The rest are just kind of falls to the wind, I suppose, with the rest of it. But I am really excited to be getting through this week's TBR, even though it's quite large. It's another time crunchy kind of day, so I'm gonna do this real quick, but I have made some progress in some books, so I thought I would check in and let you know how that's going for me. I think that the way I've parceled up my books means that I am actually getting through them quite well. I haven't made any more progress in the Water Outlaws since yesterday, just didn't have time, but I did read a little bit more of the Book Eaters, which I really am liking. this book is going to get some high stars if it continues like this. I am just loving the world building. Like, again, obviously, as I said previously, like, mothers in books are just one of my favorite things. So I knew I was going to love that element, but the world building is so cool. Again, the atmosphere I was expecting, atmosphere is delivering and is on point. The themes are really interesting. Oh my God, I just was not expecting to love the world building as much as I am, especially because it's a low fantasy. It's literally set in our world. So I was really surprised at how invested in that I am, because even though it's basically paranormal in its setup, it doesn't feel paranormal. It feels really fantastical, and I'm loving it, and I am super excited to continue with that one. That's the one that's like hard to put down to read other books, I'm not gonna lie. I have also made a teeny tiny bit more progress with The Buried Giant. I am now on chapter 8, and this is definitely a story that is about memory and like the importance of memory and how much of memory is intrinsically linked to like who you are, and that's interesting. I'm really liking it so far, but I'm making really slow progress. So from each update, I'm really not going to have much to say because I've just read another chapter. So this might be one that I might just check in at the end of the vlog if we've finished it and let you know. But we are past the halfway point now. Yay! Another one that I have only basically started. I am really not very far in at all because of the way that I am pacing myself with these books, which again is really good because it means that I am, taking my time with them. But I am now 38 pages into the Red Scholar's Wake. So far, writing style I'm liking. I liked Aliette de Bodard's writing style last time though. I am really interested to see her character work because that was the thing that was really lacking for me in the novella of hers that I read. So I'm really interested to see how I feel about the character work. Obviously only 40 pages in, I don't have a huge amount to say at the moment. So we shall see how I progress with that. But strong start. I am curious. I am happy to keep reading. And as I said, I'm really liking the writing style. So we'll see how I feel about the characters a little bit further in. I did think that they would grab me a little bit more than they are given the short size of the story, but especially because even though it's part of a series, it's because it's part of an extended universe. I don't think these characters are the protagonists of another book she's written at the moment, so they do need to grab me in this book alone, and I need to be able to treat this story as a standalone. We'll see how that goes. That's kind of like my second chance author thing. Basically, if I'm not fussed about the characters in this one, then I know that Aliette de Bodard is not for me. If I like the characters in this one, then I am really excited to continue working my way through her works because the stories are really interesting. I just didn't connect with it on an emotional level, so we'll see how that goes. I have started today's section of The Veiled Throne. I am on page 216, so I have read a really nice decent chunk. I read until page 136 yesterday, and then I have read this much today. This has been my priority. I've literally only read this and then the Book Eaters today. Oh wait, no, I also read The Buried Giant this morning. I read the chapter of The Buried Giant. So I've actually done quite a lot of reading. I didn't read much of the Book Eaters. I think I only read a chapter, and then I've read a chapter of this. So my priority this morning has definitely been this. I definitely have been wanting to work my way through it. I think with lunch I'm going to continue this one instead of picking up this one, and I might leave this one as my bedtime book because it's not too much on the noggin. So if I am struggling to get to sleep, this won't keep me up thinking too much. So I might switch it over and have this one as the bedtime book and have this one as my daytime book, which is the other way around to how I normally have it. But I have been reading more during the afternoon than I was. Normally I'd read more in the morning with my breakfast and then at night. So I was prioritizing my buddy read for breakfast and then this at night. I think what I'm going to do is, now that I'm reading more at lunchtime, I'll read this one and then this one at night, and then my ebook is literally just whenever I am sat about doing nothing. If I catch myself doom scrolling for more than 10 minutes on my social media, I'll stop myself and switch to my ebook because it's on my phone. It's just a really good way of making sure that I keep up with the habits that I want to be keeping up. So it's okay to scroll through social media, but you've been doing this for too long. You've been doing it for 10 minutes, so now you need to stop. And a way that I can still unwind, and it means that I don't need to get up, go find a book. I don't need to go anywhere or do anything. I can still relax, but I'm still reading. That's where the ebook comes in. So that's my update for now. So I will hopefully be able to update you tomorrow with some more progress. We shall see how I do with this one. I'm hoping to have this done. I mean, I've got it tabbed out until Sunday, but maybe I can finish it by Friday. But my big priority is this one, and I am having a really good time with it, and I'm really invested in this series now. Well, hello vlog. It is now Wednesday, so it's time to check in again. It's later than usual, but you know, a girl's gotta do what a girl's gotta do sometimes, you know. Where am I at? Where am I at on my books? Page count wise. First of all, obviously, the big mammoth that we're tackling this week is I am now on page 439 of The Veiled Throne. So I am a decent ways in. I'm not quite halfway. So much better. I'm so immersed in this series now. Like, this is now starting to take over my life. Like, this is literally just all I want to do is read this. But also I'm really glad that I'm pacing myself, because then it means it lasts longer. So I don't mind that I'm reading other things, but literally all I'm thinking about is this. So this is just, this book now is really amping up. I can't even really talk to you guys about it, but we are following it more from, we have characters in here who have very different values and principles and upbringings than the characters from The Grace of Kings. And therefore we're seeing how things that was set up in Grace of Kings by these characters actually are unfolding in a very different way than they had planned, because they're being carried out by the next generation. And I'm really liking that aspect of this. And I just think that the way the characters are in this series specifically are done in such a way that is really innovative. At the same, like, it feels close to home, it feels realistic, but it feels really innovative in its approach. The magic, the gods, the way the world is built in this series is so fascinating to me. The steampunk elements are also really cool. I don't know, I just feel like everything falls really nicely. I've actually gotten ahead of today's bit. I'm actually a little bit into Thursday's bit because I'm just having a really good time, and I got carried away and then I realized that I'd gone past the tab. Oh well, I'm having a great time, loving that book. I am ahead of the game with Red Scholar's Wake. I've actually finished Thursday's part of Red Scholar's Wake, because again the chapters are so small. I'm on page 196, which is chapter 16. I'm really liking elements of this. Again, with Aliette de Bodard's writing, I'm not sure how I feel about the characters. I don't know if her character work works for me. I like the plot, I really like the world building that's going into this. It's a really intriguing story, and it's very well crafted. It's really well written. The descriptions, the writing style, the plotting, it's all really well crafted, and the characters are well described and well fleshed out. I just have no emotional connection with them. I don't think that the author isn't good at writing characters. I just don't think that the way she approaches it works for me personally, because again, they're well fleshed out, they're well developed characters. They're just not ones that I am connecting with on any kind of deep level. I'm liking the discussions around, I suppose, the piracy in this world. It's very interesting, because I think whenever we discuss space and space travel, we bring back piracy, and it's because piracy basically became obsolete. But once we get into space, it's kind of a free-for-all again, so piracy would come back, and it's the vibe I get from here, and I like that. I like the discussions that are going on here. I'm having fun with it. I just don't really feel deeply connected to it. I have made more progress in the Water Outlaws. I'm really liking this. The thing is, my favourite takeaway so far in this first quarter of the book, or wherever I'm at now, is the discussions around activism. So you have, at the beginning of this book, you have a character who is a woman who is in a position that is not normally afforded to women. And she has befriended someone who is also in a position that is not normally afforded to women. So she is around women who are actually progressing in society. She doesn't want to completely upend society so that women can progress. She thinks that slow progression, like her and her friends are doing, will eventually be enough. And her friend disagrees. And it's very much about how our protagonist does everything by the book, the way that men want her to do things. She's happy with this lesser title than she really does deserve, because because at least she's got one, and as a woman that's enough. And she's okay with like a trickle down mentality when it comes to rights. And I really like, in a way, that you have this woman who does everything the way she's supposed to, and things don't go well for her because that's not how progress is actually made. So the discussions around gender equality and inalienable rights, and sometimes the need for there to be a more assertive way to gain those rights, was really interesting. I don't know, I'm really interested in like the book as well, now that we've gotten to a different point in this character's status, I suppose. But it was interesting to begin with, and I'm interested to see how our character grows with that as the story goes on. I am nearly done with The Book Eaters. I'm way ahead of schedule with that one. I'm hoping to be done with that by tomorrow. I'm loving it so much. It's going to be 5 stars. Like, unless the ending is just absolutely abysmal, it's going to be 5 stars. I need a physical copy of this book. I love it with every fibre of my being. And yeah, I haven't really got a huge amount more to say about it. I love that the chapters start with a segment from another book. One of my favourite childhood books, which is Ingart, had that when I was a kid. And I love that idea, that ode to literature, that ode to other people's stories. And the mother-son relationship in here is so interesting because it's so complicated. I love the atmosphere. I could gush about this all day. I will gush about it when I'm done. How about that? I should be done with it tomorrow. I will just sit and gush for hours. Which means the only one I haven't actually made any progress with at all is The Buried Giant. I'm waiting on Steve. I've still read 7 chapters. I'm waiting on Steve to let me know when he's read some, and that's fine. So this one, I just read it at Steve's whims, basically, and that's fine because I've got so many other things on the go that it's really not a problem. Having a really, really good reading day today. Today's been super productive. Got loads of writing done. I got loads of reading done, loads of filming done. I've got some editing done. I've made thumbnails. Today's been one of those days that just everything's been productive. So I'm hoping to keep that momentum going tomorrow as well. And then Friday, I'm basically just taking the day off of doing absolutely anything other than writing. I'm going to smash out as many words as possible on Friday. I do this every now and then, like every few weeks or so. It's just take a day to literally only write, and that's the only thing I'm doing. Friday's the day, so I'm really excited about that. That means that tomorrow is kind of another day where it's like I'm just going to try and get a lot of other things done, and we'll see. So it's Thursday evening, and when I tell you my reading mojo has been off the charts, I am not lying to you. I have read, I think, 500 pages today, and I've been super busy as well. Like, it's not even like it's that because I've been doing fuck all but reading today. I have no idea how I found the time, but I did finish The Book Eaters, which we're going to talk about first. 5 stars instantly, no hesitation. 5 stars. Loved it so much. That one I am essentially I'm going to need a physical copy of. I adored it. I only had 60 pages left. Read that last night. And yeah, I want that book to be part of my personality. I cannot wait for Sunny Dean to get more books out. The way I cried at some parts of that book, the way I was like on the edge of my seat, the way I was gritting my teeth, the way I felt anger and sadness and even the tiny glimmers of hope that bring you so much joy. Love that book so much. And yeah, I need more by this author. This morning, I actually finished The Red Skull's Wake. Now, this wasn't one that it was like, oh, I was so compelled that all I wanted to do was read and therefore I got through it. This was more, I knew if I dragged this out much longer, it would start to get a bit tired and I would begin to dislike it. It was more like, okay, it's kind of run its course. I need to get going a little bit with this one because I just wasn't as enamored with it. As it stands, the fact that it's taken me 4 days to read this tiny book, I think has been to its detriment. This is one that I should have just kind of binged over like a couple of days, because this one, I've ended up giving it 3 stars. I think it would have been a higher 3 stars if I'd gotten through it quicker, but because I had time to like sit and think about it, I didn't. Like, that's the thing. It's like, time didn't help this book because I could just sit and think about it in between sections that I'd allocated and literally just be like, oh, I really don't have much to say. I don't really have any thoughts or feelings on it. So with some books, like parceling them up and reading them over a prolonged period of time means that you're spending more time with that book. It means that you're thinking about the book more. That just wasn't the case. It just reminded me how little I had to think about in this book, which was a shame. I just don't have very strong feelings about it. There's nothing, I can't pinpoint any one thing that's wrong with it. The character work didn't necessarily work for me, but there's nothing like wrong with it. I just wasn't invested enough in it. It didn't pull me in emotionally. It didn't pull me in intellectually. The intrigue wasn't high enough. Like nothing was just enough to make me be like, oh my God, yes. So no problems with the book, just also nothing particularly that I found myself being enthusiastic about. Like I can't pinpoint any one thing that was bad or any one thing that actually stood out to me as being remarkable. So 3 stars. But this is where my reading mojo is coming through, because I have now read, so I'd started Thursday's section. I was on page 574 yesterday, and I am now on page 695. So I've read 120-ish pages of this today. I have read this whole massive chunk today. I'm not even mad about it. I'm so happy. I am loving this book. With each book in this series, I understand the hype so much more, which is so weird, because normally you want that first book to be the one that's like, yes, I am locked and loaded and ready to go. The first book was good. Like I had a good time and I was glad that was continuing. And then book 2, I was like, yes. And this one, oh my God, I can understand why this series is so many people's favorite series. It's so good. It's such a good series. And I am having such a good time reading these books. And I can't even talk to you about these because it's so far into the series. Like I am, like 2,000 pages into this series at this point? Maybe, but oh my God, it's just so good. The thing is it's not like any one thing. It's not like this one cataclysmic thing. Like, so with the Sword of Kaigen, I was not really into it until I was really into it because of an event. There's no real one event really that has brought me into this series. It's just that slow, steady progress that has made it go from okay to, oh my God, please, can I keep reading? I mean, I'm on page 695 out of 982. I feel like this will definitely be done before Sunday, because I can't put it down. Like, it's all I want to do is read this book. And like I said, it's not even like there's any one thing that has just suddenly made me love it. It's just each book has enticed me more and more and more. It's like a slow courtship, you know? It's like, it took like date 1, it was like fine, you know, he was a bit cold and aloof, and then date 2 was actually a real good time, and now I'm like, okay, yeah, no, we can go back to your place now. So that's where I am at with this series. So I am both super excited and absolutely petrified of Speaking Bones. I'm not gonna lie, but I have to read Speaking Bones in 5 days because I'm trying to read it all before May, so that'll be Monday till Friday. So we'll see, because oh my God, I'm a happy girly. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very happy with this series, but I can't talk to you about it. Like, there is not a single thing I can I can't even mention who the protagonists are at this point, because there have been some changes. There are some characters that have died. There are some characters that have been born and risen to power. Like, so much has happened, and I cannot literally even tell you who our POVs are. So I can't talk to you about anything apart from just go, oh my God. But that's how I'm feeling. So I'm super excited to finish this up. I will finish this either tomorrow or Saturday. And oh my God. Guys, I understand now. I understand. I had my doubts, okay? When I was reading Grace of Kings, I'm not gonna lie, I had my doubts. I'm with you. I get it now. I really do. Everyone who has been like, oh my God, read this series. I mean, it took me this long, but I get it. I get it. I am sorry. I'm sorry I ever doubted you, because I get it. That does mean that I am now ebookless, standalone-less, and the only thing I have left are like 200 pages of dread. After this one. So I am going to pick up my next ebook, because again, I don't mind getting a bit ahead of the game. So I'm going to pick up my next ebook, which is Blackwater Sister by Zen Cho. This one is, I believe it's a magical realism, and in it we are following a young woman who's gone back to her homeland after her grandmother has passed away, and her grandmother had this long-standing feud with someone who insulted her goddess, and she is not going to let a pesky little thing like death get in the way of her revenge, not when she can just take over and possess our protagonist. So we are dealing with women's rage, we are dealing with generational trauma, and yeah, I am here for it. I'm really excited. The synopsis sounds like it's going to be like a lot of fun, but also a lot of like Encanto style, you know? It's like fun, also let's deal with some generational trauma in one go. That's definitely the vibes I'm getting from this. I'm here for it. I'm really excited. I think I'm going to need to have something that's a bit light and fun to counter over this mofo. So that's where I'm at. So I am now 2 books down. I have made 0 progress in the Berry Giant at this point. Like, I will update you when I do make progress. That's it. But yeah, I am excited to finish Veiled Throne, if not slightly terrified. We'll see how I get on with the Zencho one. So it's Friday. I have been editing this vlog a little bit in the morning just so that I can kind of like get into my mojo, and now I'm gonna go write for the rest of the day. So I had a nice slow chill morning. Kids didn't go to school, so I didn't have to get out too early, but I've had a nice slow chill morning, and I've done a tiny bit of editing for about half an hour, and then I've done some reading, and now I'm gonna go write. And I did, between last night and this morning, manage to finish Veiled Throne by Ken Liu. In the notes it says that the Veiled Throne and Speaking Bones, which is the last book, all read like one seamless, really long narrative. So it doesn't end in a way that is like, whoa, what an ending, can't wait for the next one. And it's more just like, I need to continue, like this story needs to keep going, which is a really interesting way to conclude such a chunky book. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into the next one. It's a really interesting setup, a really interesting progression in this series, and I know that by the end of it I'm going to absolutely adore this series. Now I know that it's all this one big seamless narrative. I did also, in fact, because I finished that and I wanted to jump straight into Speaking Bones, but I thought I needed to slow down a little tiny bit. So I have instead read the first 50 pages of This Is How You Lose the Time War. So I'm not very far in. This is such a weird book. It's really weird on my brain. I have no idea what's happening, and I don't even know if I like that or not. I have no idea if I like this book or not at this point. I just know I'm 50 pages in, and this is a romance between 2 people. So we have Red and we have Blue, and they are on opposite sides. They're agents, like they're time agents, and they are on opposite sides of this kind of ongoing conflict, and they basically start kind of corresponding to each other through time. And it's a really weird way to get you immersed. Like the first 50 pages that are supposed to be the suck you in, and more just me going around like, what, for the whole thing. But I am interested to continue, so at least it's got that going for it. I have no idea how much I'll be able to talk to you about this, but I am enjoying it. I think I am willing to continue. That's as far as we'll go for now. So this is where I'm at. I have finished this one and I have started this one. And yeah, so I'm going to go do some writing now, and I will check back in tomorrow. Hey vlog, it's Saturday, so I thought I would check in. I have a live stream that I am doing with my friend Eleanor over on her channel, which I'll leave linked down below. I'll leave the video link down below as well. We're going to be chatting about the 3rd Temeraire book, which was the book that I read for this month. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. I've got a couple of hours. I need to go have dinner, but I do need to get changed because this dress makes me look like I'm naked whenever I'm on screen. So I need to go get changed. I did want to go check in first because I have made a little bit of progress. I've not been reading very much this weekend, I'm not gonna lie. I've actually been doing more audiobook listening. So I am now on chapter 22. Well, I just finished chapter 22 of The Water Outlaws, which means I have about 6 hours left of the audio, which is great. I have been really enjoying this book so much, and I understand why it's not for everyone because the pacing in it is very unusual, I think, and it doesn't really follow typical story beats, but it's just one of those that I'm really enjoying sinking into, just one of those that I'm really enjoying being along for the ride with. And it's not necessarily new favorite material in the sense of, oh my god, I can't put this down, this is amazing, which again potentially might just be because I'm consuming it via audio, but it is definitely one that I am really appreciating the story for. It's one that I have a lot of admiration for the themes that the author is trying to put forth, as well as it being through some very interesting characters. Like, these aren't characters that see everything in the way that the author is. Like, there are so many different narrative perspectives and points of view. The thing that I think I admire the most actually in this one is its take on feminism. You do have a character who in a way is kind of a not like other girls sort of character, where they believe that slowly but surely incorporating women into positions of power will eventually trickle down into more rights for women. And her friend is the one that is a bit more like, no, we need to keep pushing. We've got some rights. Let's get more. Let's get them all. Let's get our equal rights. And that they are juxtaposed in that is really interesting to me, because you have then this character who, through her own mindset, ends up having to adhere to consequences, which I just think was really well done. And I'm really enjoying then how that is panning out, and how this character is learning through the positions that she keeps finding herself in. So I'm really enjoying that one, and I am looking forward to continuing. I am now over halfway through This Is How We Lose the Time War. I am on page 108, and I am liking this. I am. And I understand why people love this. I really, really do. I think one of the things that I am finding, I think possibly this is due to the fact that I keep hearing everyone be like, oh, you need to give it a while. Oh, it's really complicated. Oh, it's really convoluted, but it's worth it. And it's like, the story is good. It is. I don't know if I think it's worth it. I don't know if I find that the story we are being told is worth how convoluted the way it's being told is. And I appreciate that the way it's being told is part of the appeal. It's because it's a very unusual story structure. It has a very unusual setup, and that's kind of like what makes it different, I guess. But to me, then that just kind of spells that the story itself wouldn't necessarily be the best if it weren't for its unique telling methods. I am unsure. I am liking it, but I have some quandaries about it at the moment, so we'll see. And then the last thing that I've been reading is I have been reading Blackwater's Sister. I am 100 pages into this one now. I read 50 yesterday and 50 today. And okay, I am really liking this one. Oh my god, all of these are like, I like things but with a caveat. I really like what this one's trying to do. I really, really love the kind of like having the grandma in her head, and I really like discussions around the protagonist. I quite like having a protagonist who's a bit of a doormat, because you normally have like these badass bitches, and I really like having this kind of doormat of a protagonist and this overbearing grandmother in her head. The only problem is that I wasn't fussed about the beginning, because a lot of the beginning is very unsubtle info dumping, which info dumping, if it's to get us on our way to like this massive trilogy of epic fantasy, and there's so much more information you're going to have to give throughout the book, that the only way you can go about it is info dumping at the beginning. That's annoying enough, but like fine. But in a contemporary magical realism standalone, I just find like the info dumping style was very much like, I don't know if any of you have ever seen, I think it was a TikTok that went around where it was someone talking about, the beginning of every YA movie ever. And it's like, someone enters the kitchen and it's like, hi brother, hi sister, would you like some breakfast? Yes, please. Do you remember when our parents died 2 years ago? Like, it's kind of along those lines of just like the level of exposition is just so heavy-handed. I didn't vibe with that. So, there was just so much explanation of like, okay, so she's queer. Okay, so the parents don't know. Okay, so she's still living at home with her parents. Okay, so her parents are from this culture of people, and like it just from the get-go, like going through their belongings, and it's like, oh, and here's a memory because of this one belonging and stuff. And it's like, I'm not attached enough to these characters yet for you to be sharing memories with me. I don't know who these people are apart from the information that you have just dumped on me. I didn't vibe with the introduction to the book, but I am now enjoying it. Now that we've actually got some plot going, now that things are actually moving, I am enjoying it more. I just really struggled with the first 50 pages and was questioning whether or not this would be my jam. So it still has a possibility of being like a book that I really, really enjoy, but the first 50 pages really weren't it for me, which is a shame. But I do like the concept enough that I have pushed through, and it seems to be paying off. So that's where I'm at, and then tomorrow I'll hopefully come in and wrap up this vlog. It's Sunday, and the entire purpose of Sundays is to be as lazy as physically possible. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. My kids have decided to go play quietly downstairs. So if they suddenly start getting loud, it's because they live here. But it, as I said, is Sunday, and I've come to kind of wrap up the vlog. I haven't really made any more progress with The Buried Giant. I'm just gonna kind of crack on with that next week and finish it up at this point, because I really can't have it roll over into June, because I have quite a stacked June TBR, which will be the video that went up before this vlog. I have finished This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Mohtar and Max Gladstone, and this is one that I've ended up giving it 4 stars. I have a lot of appreciation and admiration for what the authors were trying to do, especially with the writing style and the different approach to this style of story. I think was really, really innovative, but I can't give it 5 stars just because I really, really couldn't get overly invested in the story, because this book isn't really about the story, it's about the way the story is told, which is just not really necessarily my thing. I do much prefer stories that tackle the themes of the story and the character work and any of these other things over it being a beautiful narrative. Just not really my thing. So I really do have a lot of respect and a lot of time for this, and I don't think it deserves anything less than a 4 stars, but it's not a new favorite for me, so I can't really bring it to a 5. I am now 200 pages into Blackwater Sister, so that means that by next week I will have 200 pages to go, which I think is pretty good going, and I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot more now. I'm really immersed in the story and I'm really interested to see where it goes. The humor in it is really cool and the cultural aspects are absolutely fascinating. I don't know very much about Malaysian culture, so it's been very interesting to kind of read about. The interactions between our protagonist and her grandmother are absolutely hilarious as well, and I'm really enjoying that. So it's one that I am, you know, sinking into now, and I think I'm going to have a much better time with. I am now quite a ways into the Water Outlaws. I have about 4 hours left. I think I listened to like 2 hours yesterday while I was just like cleaning and doing stuff about the house, and then I did a little bit of planning and yeah, just like little bits around the house. That means that I can't physically be reading, but I can listen. So that was pretty cool. I'm still really loving this and I'm excited to see how it concludes. And yeah, that is it. So far in this vlog, let's go get all of the books there for this vlog. So I said Sundays are lazy days and now you're making me get up. So in this vlog, I have therefore finished The Veiled Throne by Ken Liu, which does not count at all for the Fantasy Fellowship, but I don't really care because this was amazing and I loved it so much. But yes, not counting for the readathon, but I did give it 5 stars, so who cares. Then we have made some progress in The Buried Giant, but not very much, and I am now kind of needing to prioritize this one. So no rating, but this one eventually will count, but I will tell you when I'm done with it. However, we have The Red Scholar's Wake, which is I ended up giving 3 stars. It was fine. I didn't love it. I really wanted to love it more. I just really couldn't connect with the characters. But this one works for the Underworld 2-point prompt, which is a book that features one of the 7 deadly sins, and I believe that this one would work for Pride. I was kind of told that it would work for Pride, and it really does. And then I have started Blackwater Sister, which also does count for one of the prompts, but again, I've not finished it yet, so I'll let you know when I'm done with that. I have also finished The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean, which accounts for the 2-point bonus prompt for the Fantasy Fellowship bonus prompts, which was to read a book that had previously been featured as a buddy read over on the Fantasy Fellowship. And then finally we have This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I have ended up giving 4 stars, and it is one that I used for the Fins and Fables 4-point prompt, which is read a book that is out of your comfort zone, which this definitely is because it's literary sci-fi romance. And yeah, that is all for these prompts. So let me know how your May is going. We've only got 1 week left. By the time you're seeing this, we'll have less than that. We'll have a few days left. So let me know how May has been treating you, and I will hopefully catch you in another one soon. Bye.